episode 3679, What If You're Not Number One?
Moms, it's time to rediscover, rejuvenate, and renew who you are in mind, body, and spirit. Welcome to Create Your Now, Your Best Selfie, the show to help you do just that. Here's your host, certified life coach, personal trainer, and nutritionist, Christiane Wargo.
Happy day. I hope you're having a very blessed weekend. Hopefully you don't have crazy weather. You know, wouldn't it be nice that we just can get through a weekend without extra chaos? We already have enough when we wake up in the morning, but today it's all about relationship builders. Yes, who are you sleeping with? Do you even know them? It's time to get close to them. But what if you're not number one in their lives? For those of you who are brand new to Create Your Now, welcome to this incredible family. I'm so delighted of your presence. If you already haven't had the opportunity, you'll want to head on over to createyournow.com where you can learn more and sign up for the Kisses newsletter. The Keep It Simple strategy, everyday solutions to live, love, and impact. Well, this episode is brought to you by AIM, Inspiring Connection and Community. You know, it's interesting. Marriages, it just, you know, there are days it's like best thing ever. And then there are moments like, why did I do it? Have you ever had those? I mean, come on, be real. You got to be honest with yourself or you're never going to make the changes that need to happen. But being married is a challenge in itself, right? You must wake up every morning ready to say, I do today. Love is a verb and requires you to choose daily. But what if you're not number one to your spouse? What if you don't feel chosen in the moment? What if you feel like you're always the one on the back burner? Life has cycles and seasons. Some are good and some are bad, but most are lived without intention unless it's required of you. You know, we go about and we start putting out fires of others, and the seasons prompt us to shift accordingly. We just do it. And life isn't supposed to be fair. We know this. But when it comes to your marriage, most hope that we're going to be number one, right? We're going to be a priority. We had our vows shared, and it's like, yes, I'm going to cherish you and love you till death do us part, and I'm going to take care of you in sickness and in health, you know, the good and the bad, or the bad and the good. No, I got you, babe. And then when you're in real life, it's like, yeah, maybe I don't really have time for that. And that's where I want us to get real here for a minute. There are those times when you can't be number one. You just can't. You don't have the capacity. You don't have the energy, nor can you put in the effort to do what you need to do. But you got to remember this, it goes both ways. So you might be feeling that, but you also might have a spouse who's feeling it too, or vice versa. You're not feeling it, but they are. When life presents challenges and responsibilities, it's easy to lose sight of each other's needs and priorities. Plus, you got to think about it this way. It may not be so much that your spouse doesn't care, but more so the responsibility in the season. Consider the birth of a new child, right? If you're the mom, right, you gave birth, and now it's like, okay, well, this child like literally needs me. If I'm not there, this child doesn't make it. So what happens to the dad? Well, they're kind of pushed off the back burner, not just for a couple days, not just for a couple weeks, but sometimes months. And then depending upon complications, lack thereof, whatever the situation is, it could be even longer, right? So, I mean, the birth of a new child, life-changing. What about building or changing your career? Another life-changing event. What about medical diagnoses, extended family situations? Then we've got the children's various stages of life. All of these are variations of what can become a priority or a necessity to quote unquote make it through difficult circumstances. But that doesn't mean your spouse or even you doesn't love each other, right? That doesn't mean your spouse doesn't love you. That doesn't mean you don't love your spouse. You're just in the reality of what? That's how you feel. And it's important to honor and recognize those feelings. However, don't hang out with them in a manner that can foster bitterness and begin the downward spiral in your marriage, right? That rabbit hole of like, I'm falling apart. I don't think he loves me anymore. I'm not seeing this. I'm not feeling this. I'm not getting the attention I want. Next thing you know, you're looking elsewhere. You've got, okay, you see what I mean? That's the spiral I'm talking about. And it doesn't just apply to you, right? It can apply to your spouse too. But again, we're not talking about this at the dinner table. We're not talking about this when we go to bed because we're exhausted. We don't even talk about our own feelings. When you asked your spouse the last time, think about this, and maybe you haven't asked your spouse lately, how was your day? What happened today? It's very interesting. When we first got married, I love my husband to death, but this is the honest truth. When we first got married, I would ask about his day, but he did not ask about my day. And at first, it really didn't bother me. But then months to years and kids passed. And I was like, excuse me? But then I knew he was so stressed. He gave everything to everybody else. That was part of his job, his career, his responsibilities. Lives depended upon it, literally. And I knew when I married him, because I was dating him in this whole process of what he wants to be when he grows up. And he knew who he was going to be. He had no question about it. So I knew what I was getting into. But that doesn't mean that I didn't have those feelings of like, but what about me? Like, hello. But then things began to shift. And now just had a conversation with him last night because he's traveling, I'm traveling. And he was like, so how was your day, babe? And I just kind of took a deep breath because it's been a really good week. It's been a very full week. It's been a very productive week. I mean, we've got some incredible things stirring. I mean, let me tell you, we've got some back things happening at Create Your Now. You want to stay tuned here. Like, seriously, here, the TV show, pray.com, like, pay attention. The new website's coming up. And man, when that starts to go live here, crossing my fingers very, very soon. And I appreciate your patience. It is just, I just believe the Lord's going to explode things. But in saying all of that, for him to ask me, so how was your day? And I just took this deep breath, not where it was like, so loud where he heard it. It was an internal breath with my heart of like, he really does notice me. Now, I know he does. We have an incredible marriage. We are more in love today than we were when we first got married, even when we started dating. Love endures. Love grows. Love deepens. There's this incredible wellspring that you can have in your marriage, but it takes work. And so when we're going through these times of, I just don't feel like I'm connected, it's not always because there could be someone else. Okay, let me just put it that way. And you need to have those conversations if you're thinking that there might be someone else. Okay, like seriously, you need to have those heart-to-hearts. Don't let it go months. Let alone weeks, but months into a year if you're still like, gosh, I don't know, because let me tell you, it just gets worse. And that bitterness, hanging out with those feelings, it opens up those deep crevices of where you were hurt before, and the bitterness starts to set in, and that's when the mind disconnects with the heart, and your thoughts are like, oh, well, this isn't going to work, and now you're going to be left high and dry with, you know what I mean? Like, your mind goes there. Come on, we've all seen movies. But the way we want our movie to end is the white picket fence, the beautiful house, the husband, the kids, the dogs, the graduations, the marriages, the grandchildren, right? The retirement, the 50th wedding anniversary. That's the kind of movie, right? It kind of brings me to like Up. Have you seen that movie? Yeah, I know. My husband loves that movie. And it does bring you to tears when you see kind of the whole lifespan. But here, if you find yourself experiencing a lack of priority from your spouse, or maybe you're not prioritizing your spouse, okay? This is not a judgment area. This is a judgment-free zone. This is our time to think and really go like, okay, how am I showing up for my spouse? What does it look like? Then take a moment to intentionally turn things around. That is your Kiss to Keep It Simple strategy. Turn things around. That's what you have to remember. You have a choice to make a decision, to make a change about how you show up every day in your marriage. So like when you get up in the morning, do you get up in the morning going, yes, I am so grateful that I'm sleeping next to this man. I'm sleeping next to this woman. They are the best thing that happened to me. Okay? A lot of times we're hitting snooze. We're groggy. We're, got to go take care of the kids. Got to get them ready for school. I know it's almost summertime, and now you're going to be like, if I could just sleep in. But they need you because you've got to cook for them, or your kitchen is going to be a disaster, right? I know, been there, done that. But take a deep breath. You can turn things around. If you want to navigate these treacherous waters in your marriage, hang on, because you can turn them around. Don't leave it for, it'll just happen. because I'm telling you right now, it won't. You have to be intentional, which means you have to be in tension, right? So in it to win it, and you get to make the decision as this is how I want to show up. It takes 1 to start and 2 to finish. So if you're like, well, yeah, Christiane, but you always say it's a two-way street. That's true. But still someone has to start. So if you are kind of rocky in your marriage right now and you're feeling less than, you're feeling like, wait, he's really not noticing me. Okay. Then you start. You be the one that starts. So then eventually you can have the conversation and then 2 can finish. And it's a blessing. So I want to go over a few things. I've actually got a few different notes here and just things that came to me as I was writing out the outline for what we're going to talk about, because this all comes from the number 1 of the NFL draft. You know, we talked about that yesterday. There are no shortcuts with the confessions. If you didn't listen to it, go back and listen to it. It's a great one, seriously. But also the whole idea that what if you're not number 1? I mean, Cam Ward, chosen number 1 pick. Woohoo! Congratulations. But we've still got Sanders sitting on the list, and he was, slotted to go for number 2 as a quarterback, and he's still hanging on, and we're about ready to hit round 4. Now you're like, Christiane, there's so much here about the NFL draft that I have no desire to learn. I get it, but you do understand about being number 1. And we all think that in our marriages, that's where we all should be number 1. Husband and wife should always be number 1 to each other, right? I mean, yes, you have God and then you have each other, right? But a lot of times it doesn't work that way. The reality is like, no, you have God. Well, sometimes maybe you have him in the shower or when you go to the bathroom or a quick drive by yourself. But otherwise it's like only on the 911 call. So we got to work on that, but we'll leave that for another episode. And then we've got, the kids. And depending upon the ages and the stages of their life, they sometimes come before the spouse, right? Yeah, that newborn. Yeah, I remember. I had 5. And then we have grandchildren now. I remember. Doesn't take much. And all of a sudden the spouse is like, hello, remember me? I miss you. Okay? And maybe you're feeling that. There's that tension in the marriage. You don't want the tension to be negative. You want it to be positive. So you want to have the intention to turn things around. So what are some things you can do in real life to turn the tide, so to speak? Number 1, love language exploration. I love this one. I love this one. If you're not familiar with Gary Chapman, go look him up. The 5 Love Languages is a great resource for you to read. But he has the 5 love languages, and that is acts of service, quality time, words of affirmation, physical touch, and receiving gifts. And when you begin to understand each other's love language, what really speaks to you, and for some it's a little bit of everything, but usually there's 1 or 2 that really stand out, like this is what it is. This is where I'm at. When you hit this spot, like, yes, I'm on fire. And we're not talking about the great bedroom, scene. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the love languages as to where we are and how we get it. Not that physical touch can't be that, but we're not always talking about the big old sex, okay? So explore that. Figure out, if you haven't ever done it, there's a test you can take. It's just like a quiz, and you kind of figure it out. You could talk about it. It's a great discussion point, and it really does open up the conversations to, and wait, maybe it's changed a little bit as I've gotten older. Things have shifted. Remember, change is a constant. We're changing, right? We're evolving as human beings. That's a good thing for the most part, but as a couple, we've got to do it together too, which leads me to number 2. We got to adventure together. Step out of your comfort zone. Try new experiences together. Right? Do a cooking adventure. Go on a cruise if you've never taken a cruise. Go for a hike. You can do things that don't cost money. I know budgets are tight right now. I get it. But you can still have adventures. With a cooking class, guess what? Go to your local Goodwill bookstore or Goodwill shop. Get a recipe book that you've never seen before and do a new recipe one every week. And try it out. Cook it together. That's your new adventure class that you can do together. Didn't cost you anything but maybe $3.99 plus tax. And you can create an adventure and an experience. And then you can get your kids involved if they're still hanging out, or maybe your dog will eat the food because you really don't like the food that you cooked because, well, it's just not your style. Whatever it is, but adventure together. It's so exciting to do new things, okay? Number 3, very important, gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. You've got to practice it. Cultivate this habit of, I love you, I see you, I'm thankful for you. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for working so hard. Take time every day to express your appreciation for your spouse. Remember, 1 to start, 2 to finish. So if you're like, yeah, but I don't get that from my spouse. It really does require us to take that time to say, I see you. Thank you so much. And I know it's hard when you've got, the spouse that's like, well, they don't really acknowledge me. You can still be kind and you still can be grateful. You don't have to like what they're not doing, but you can show them what needs to be done. That's why it takes 1 to start and 2 to finish. Now, that leads me to the point of number 4, couples counseling. Because sometimes, we need somebody else to look into our relationship, our marriage, what's working, what's not. And sometimes we need the guidance of a professional counselor or a coach that can say, you know what, let's work through this, based on what you told me, what he's told me. We can look at these together and we can figure out ways to navigate challenges, improve communication, all of it, right? Therapy sessions can provide a safe space for both partners to express their feelings. Work through your conflicts, right? Because you're going to have conflicts. You're 2 different people that are now working as one within the privacy of your own 4 walls. And if you have kiddos, it gets even crazier. And if you have in-laws or whatever living, with you, it gets very complicated. So allowing that person to come in with you to give a peek into what's going on can help you say, okay, maybe these are areas we can improve within our dynamics of our marriage, right? And that's important. It doesn't happen automatically. And let me give you this piece of advice. And yes, I'm going to say it's advice. If you're having problems, it's better that you address it now than thinking it's going to get better on its own. Because I'm telling you now, it doesn't get better on its own. You have to address it. And in marriage, a lot of times a separation or divorce happens and comes because what? Finances and I'm not being seen or heard. Those are the 2. You're not spending time with me. And so that not spending time, not recognizing I don't feel love, what happens? The search begins and they start finding it in other places, okay? Could be on Facebook, people don't like it, but there's been a lot of things that have happened because of direct messages on social media. I'm not saying you need to worry about that, but I am saying that if you think there's something going on, it's better to address it earlier than wait thinking it's just going to happen and heal by itself, okay? Number 5, physical touch rituals. You want to create rituals of physical touch that foster this intimacy and connection. And no, it's not about just everything that happens in the bedroom, okay? But it includes that. Don't get me wrong, it includes that, but it's also things like evening walks. I loved back in the day, okay, this has nothing to do with being married, but I'm going to tell you here why, and you're going to understand. After dinner, when we were all together always as a family, and we were visiting my grandma and grandpa, which is my mom's parents, and we really moved all the time, right? I've moved so many times in my lifetime, I cannot keep track now. We're somewhere in the 30s if I count my children, and then I count this renovation, which really included about 2 full moves in and out of my house because of what we've done. I think we're well over the 40-some mark. It's craziness. But anyway, after we would have dinner, I love that my grandfather would take his grandchildren, whoever wanted to go with them. And at first it was just kind of me and my older cousin. And then eventually it was his brother. So I had 2 cousins. I was the only girl. So we had the oldest cousin was my boy, oh my goodness, yes, my boy cousin, and then it was me, the girl cousin, and then it was my boy cousin, and then my brother came along, my sister came along. Well, anyway, most of the time though, a lot of times it was just me that would go. The others would come down and they would want to run down to the pond, but I would walk with Grandpa. And let me tell you what that did for me personally. Okay, I know this has nothing to do with marriage, but yet it does. It set a tone with me how I love going on evening walks. It allowed me to just kind of chill out, to talk, to have the final evening to bring things down. Even as a kid, I wasn't dealing with major stressful things. I wasn't paying bills. I was a child having fun, but there was something about the walk in nature, and I learned so much. And my husband and I, we've been busy over the past few, literally probably about the last 18 months of our life. And it's just been kind of a whirlwind. And we haven't had a lot of evening walks. And I love those times when we can do that. And I miss that. So, it might be those evening walks for you. Think about what is like that just kind of brings you that warm, cozy, and you don't have to like cuddle up on the couch all the time, but you want to have that feeling. What is that for you? Maybe it's cuddling